The phone rang just past midnight. Ethan, the billionaire CEO who thought he controlled every second of his life, stared at the unknown number flashing across his screen. He almost ignored it until the voice on the other end said words that froze his world. "Mr. Cole, this is Mercy General Hospital. Keisha Brown is in critical condition. Your only emergency contact." For a moment, silence filled the penthouse. He blinked, not believing what he'd heard. Keisha? His maid? The quiet black woman who cleaned his house for years and barely spoke unless spoken to? His chest tightened. "You must be mistaken. I'm her employer." The nurse's tone stayed calm, professional, merciless. "She listed you, sir. We need your authorization for treatment." Ethan's throat went dry. "I'll be there in 15 minutes. He grabbed his keys, rushed past the marble walls that once made him proud, and entered the empty elevator. For the first time in years, the sound of his own heartbeat drowned out the hum of success. As his car cut through the rain-soaked streets, flashes of memory hit him like lightning. Keisha smiling faintly while polishing his trophies, saying "Good night, mister." Cole, every evening without ever being seen. He remembered the day she'd asked for a day off to visit her sick sister. He'd said no because of a dinner party. He remembered her coughing quietly as she carried his suitcases, and how he'd told her to try not to bring your germs near the guests. Now she was fighting for her life, and somehow he was the only name on her emergency form. The irony clawed at him. He had hundreds of employees, friends in government, contacts in every luxury circle. Yet in Keisha's world of loneliness and survival, he was the only one she trusted. The windshield blurred with rain as he whispered to himself, "Why me, Keisha? Why me?" But deep down, he already knew the answer. Because sometimes the people you look down on are the only ones still looking out for you. If this already made your blood boil, hit like and subscribe right now, because stories like this are still happening, and the world needs to hear them. The mansion woke every morning before Ethan did. Coffee brewed itself. Blinds rolled open at the first light, and footsteps moved like whispers across marble floors. At the center of it all was Keisha Brown, a woman who made silence look like discipline. "Good morning, Mr. Cole," she'd say softly, placing his breakfast exactly 2 inches from the edge of the table. He'd nod without ever looking up from his tablet. She'd ironed his shirts for years, memorized the exact shine he liked on his cufflinks, and made sure his mother's old photos were dusted, though no one had asked her to. She simply noticed things. But Ethan never noticed her. In meetings, he'd tell his staff that efficiency keeps a house alive. And Keisha, quiet, efficient, invisible, was living proof. When his friends visited for business dinners, they'd compliment the decor or the wine, never the woman serving it. Sometimes one of them would leave a tip on the counter. Ethan never corrected them. He told himself it wasn't his place. One morning, she asked timidly, "Mr. Cole, could I take next Saturday off? My sister's having her first surgery." He didn't even look up. "We've got the investor brunch. Maybe next month." She just nodded, smiled politely, and kept clearing the plates. It was always like that. Keisha's pain hidden behind grace, his privilege disguised as order. When the heating broke one winter night, she stayed late to fix it, her fingers trembling as she adjusted the thermostat. Ethan passed her in the hallway, phone in hand, and said, "Don't leave a mess behind." She didn't answer. She just kept working until the air turned warm again. In her small apartment on the other side of town, Keisha would fall asleep sitting upright. Still in her uniform, her hands smelling faintly of polish and bleach, she'd whisper quiet prayers that no one would ever hear. Meanwhile, in his luxury suite, Ethan slept peacefully, wrapped in the comfort she built for him. And when the morning came, she was back before sunrise, standing by his office door with his coffee just the way he liked it, because people like Keisha didn't have the luxury to rest. They just survived between alarms. The day it happened started like every other. Keisha arrived before dawn, her coat damp from the rain, her hands clutching a paper bag with Ethan's favorite croissants. She'd been coughing for days, but when he glanced up from his laptop, all he said was, "You're late." "I'm sorry, sir," she whispered, setting the tray down carefully. "The train," he cut her off with a sigh. "Just make sure the boardroom's ready by 8. The investors don't wait." She nodded and slipped away, her body heavy, her breath shallow. By the time the meeting began, she was standing by the door, invisible as always, steady, silent, serving coffee while the men in suits laughed about profits and growth. But the room began to blur. Her hands shook, the tray tilted, and before anyone could react, the porcelain cups hit the floor, followed by Keisha. The laughter stopped. Ethan's head snapped up as the sound echoed like a crack in glass. "Keisha!" he shouted, rushing to her side for the first time in years. Her eyes fluttered, lips trembling as she tried to speak. I'm sorry, sir." Then everything went dark. The ambulance came fast, but his guilt traveled faster. As the paramedics carried her out, one of his assistants whispered, "She's been sick for weeks, sir. Didn't she ask for time off?" Ethan didn't answer. He just stared at the drops of coffee still staining the floor, each one feeling heavier than his empire. Hours later in the hospital, the truth landed like a verdict. "Miss Brown's been battling a chronic autoimmune illness," the doctor said. "Lupus. Severe. She's been working through flare-ups without proper medication. Her insurance doesn't cover the new treatment." Ethan swallowed hard. "But she works for me. She has benefits." "Standard coverage," the doctor replied. "It's barely enough for her prescriptions. She's been rationing them. Probably why she collapsed." He stared through glass at her unconscious body, for lines in her arm, machines breathing for her. The same hands that had polished his awards now lay motionless. His reflection in the window looked foreign, like a man stripped of everything that mattered. He whispered to himself, "You took her time, you took her strength, and now you're the reason she has nothing left." No one answered, only the machines, counting her fragile breaths one by one. If this happened right in front of you, what would you do? Tell me in the comments. I read every one. And if you want justice as much as I do, hit subscribe. Ethan sat in the sterile hallway of Mercy General, head buried in his hands. The sound of ventilators and distant footsteps filled the silence, but none of it drowned the voice in his mind, the one replaying every careless word he'd ever said to her. A nurse approached quietly, holding a clipboard. "Mr. Cole," she said gently, "Miss Brown listed you as her only emergency contact. You'll need to sign for continued care." He looked up, dazed. "What did you say?" "She listed you, sir. There's no one else." He stared at the paper, his name written neatly beside hers, a signature that now felt like a sentence. Out of everyone in her life, she trusted him. His throat tightened. Did she have any family? The nurse shook her head. "No next of kin. Just you." For the first time, the word just didn't sound small. It sounded suffocating. He walked to the window of her room. The beeping of the heart monitor marked every second of his guilt. On the bedside table sat her worn handbag. The nurse handed it to him. These were her belongings. He opened it slowly, a folded Metro card, a half-empty inhaler, and a small envelope labeled personal. Inside was a faded photo. Keisha and a little boy, maybe 8 years old, standing in front of church. On the back, written in careful handwriting, "My son Jamal gone too soon." Ethan's heart sank. He realized this woman had carried loss heavier than he'd ever known, and still showed up to clean his home like it was a temple. He found another note tucked beside the photo. "In case of emergency, call Mr. Ethan Cole. He'll know what to do." He whispered, almost breaking, "No, Keisha, I never did." When Dr. Leonard entered the room, Ethan didn't look away from her. "She'll need aggressive treatment," the doctor said. "It's expensive and time-sensitive." Ethan's voice was hoarse but firm. "Money isn't the problem. Just do whatever it takes." The doctor hesitated. "Then maybe the problem is why she didn't tell anyone." That line stayed with him long after the doctor left. He turned back to Keisha, her face pale against the hospital light. "She didn't tell anyone because she believed no one cared," he said softly. "And I proved her right." The next morning, the hospital smelled of coffee and disinfectant. Ethan hadn't slept. He sat outside Keisha's room in the same chair, his expensive suit now wrinkled, his phone full of missed calls from investors, partners, and a headline waiting to explode. Billionaire CEO listed as Maid's only emergency contact. The story had leaked. Reporters swarmed the hospital parking lot, flashing cameras and microphones at every white coat that walked by. His assistant called again. "Sir," the board's panicking. "They want a statement." Ethan's voice was calm but cold. "Tell them I'm unavailable." "Unavailable?" "Ethan, this had synced a merger." He hung up. Inside, Keisha lay motionless beneath a thin blanket. Machines hummed like judgment. The doctor entered with another file. "Her treatment requires a long-term care plan. It's not fully covered." Ethan didn't even blink. "Add it to my account. Every bill, every dose." The doctor hesitated. "That's admirable, Mr. Cole, but why now?" Ethan looked at her, and for the first time in his life, the arrogance was gone. "Because I built a company where people are afraid to ask for help, and she almost died because of it." He signed the forms without reading the fine print. His signature shook slightly, the same hand that once signed million-dollar deals, now trembling over a single life. Later that day, an older nurse approached him quietly. "She's been coming here for months, sir. Always alone. Always said she couldn't afford full treatment, but still smiled every time she left." Ethan lowered his head. "Smiled for who?" "For herself, I think," the nurse replied. "Some people hold dignity even when the world refuses to see them." He watched her walk away, those words sinking deep. In that moment, Ethan realized something no amount of money had ever taught him. Success measured by profit is hollow. Success measured by compassion leaves a mark. That evening, he called his head of security, Thomas. "I need you to set up a fund," Ethan said. "Anonymous, for domestic workers' medical care. Name it after her, the Keisha Brown Foundation." Thomas paused, his voice softening. "That's different, sir. What should I tell the press?" "Tell them nothing," Ethan replied. "For once, this story isn't about me." A week later, Keisha was moved to a private recovery room. Her vitals were stable, but her world had gone quiet. Only the rhythmic beeping of machines kept her connected to life. Ethan sat beside her bed, staring at the woman who'd worked for him, lived unseen by him, and now lay before him because of him. Outside the hospital window, the world hadn't stopped. News anchors debated his motives. Journalists called him the billionaire with a conscience, and social media was split between outrage and sympathy. But none of that mattered to him anymore. He wasn't trying to save his image. He was trying to save his soul. Back at his company headquarters, the tension was thick. A senior manager made a tone-deaf joke during a meeting, something about hiring tougher maids next time. Ethan stood up slowly, eyes cold. "Get out," he said. The room went silent. The man laughed awkwardly. "It was a joke, sir," I said. "Get out. And if anyone here thinks racism is a joke, follow him." No one moved. For the first time, his silence didn't protect power. It dismantled it. Later, in his office, Ethan signed another document, the official launch of the Keisha Brown Foundation. It would cover full medical insurance for domestic workers, cleaners, and underpaid staff who kept the lives of the rich running while fighting their own battles in silence. He looked at the plaque mock-up on his desk. At the bottom, engraved in gold, were the words, "For the unseen hands that keep the world standing." When he returned to the hospital that evening, Keisha's eyes were half open. Her voice came out rough, like wind through cracked glass. "You still here?" Ethan leaned forward, relief flooding his face. "Yeah, I'm here." She blinked weakly. "You don't have to—" "I do," he interrupted softly. "You gave me years of your life. It's time I gave something back." Her lips trembled, not quite a smile, but not pain either. A quiet peace settled in the room. He sat there long after she drifted back to sleep, whispering to himself, "I can't undo what I've done, but I can change what comes next." Morning sunlight spilled gently across the hospital floor. For the first time in weeks, the air felt lighter. The machines were quieter now, their steady rhythm replaced by something more human, the soft sound of breathing that didn't need help anymore. Ethan sat by the window, a cup of untouched coffee cooling in his hands. Keisha was awake, sitting upright, pale but alive. Her eyes followed the sunlight, not him. After a long silence, she spoke. "I heard the news," she said quietly. "They're calling you a hero." Ethan's throat tightened. "I don't deserve that." "No," she replied. "You don't." Her honesty cut through the room like a truth he'd been avoiding. He looked down. "I didn't see you, Keisha. Not really. You worked in my home every day, and I treated you like a shadow." Her voice was tired but steady. "I didn't need saving, Mr. Cole. I needed seeing." He nodded, eyes wet. "I see you now. I wish I had sooner." For a moment, she studied him, the man who had once represented everything unfair about her world. Then she said softly, "Seeing is a start." He smiled faintly, ashamed and grateful at the same time. "I set up a foundation in your name," he said. "It's already helping people like you, people like us." She looked at him, emotion flickering across her face. "You didn't have to do that." "I know," he said. "That's why it matters." The two of them sat in silence again, but this time it wasn't heavy. It was the kind that carries healing, slow, imperfect, but real. As he stood to leave, Keisha whispered, "Thank you for finally listening." Ethan paused at the door. "No, Keisha. Thank you for teaching me what humanity costs." Outside, the city moved on, horns, footsteps, noise, but inside that quiet hospital room, something had shifted forever. He wasn't just a billionaire anymore. He was a man who finally understood that power means nothing without compassion, and that sometimes redemption begins with being seen. If you believe this should never happen again, share this now. And to my USA, UK, and Canadian viewers, your voice is power. Use it.